Hi, everybody. For this episode, we're joined by JT Evans from Minnesota here in the United States. JT is the Best Buy Teen Tech Center coordinator for Hope Community. JT helps young people express themselves and build skills with audio and digital technologies. He's also an artist himself and has produced videos on YouTube that have received millions of views. JT, thanks for being a guest on The Passionate Youth Worker.
Hey, what's up, Paul? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's so cool to have you here. I can't wait to dive in and learn more about you. And even in just that response, JT, you're just so full of enthusiasm and just everything that you've described to me you love to get into. Where did that sense of enthusiasm come from?
That's a good question. I think I've always been enthusiastic and passionate at anything I do. I think both of my parents are pretty enthusiastic and loud talkers as well, so I probably got it from them. I come from a family who loves to have fun, loves to compete and play games and stuff, so I'm always enthusiastic because I'm trying to do my best in any way possible.
Yeah, well, I love your enthusiasm, man. As soon as I met you, I could pick up on it. Anybody watching this or hearing it in the tone of the voice, in the tone of your voice that you're presenting, is going to pick up on things that you get into, you just dive into deeply. And I think about that as sometimes leadership, finding your passion, really jumping into things. And do you consider yourself a leader? And have you always thought about leadership and things you could do to help advance social causes, things like that?
Yes, I absolutely consider myself a leader, but I think it took a little bit of time for me to realize the significance of being a leader and the type of influence I have. I've said before, in high school and in school, I was always kind of a natural leader. Like, if decisions need to be made with friends on what we're going to do or how we're going to solve some sort of problem, I was never afraid to just step up and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then obviously, as you transition into being a youth worker, you have so much kind of responsibility to determine what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. All the kids are looking to you a lot of times. So that's definitely something I kind of worked into and continue to get better at it. It kind of happened naturally, but then as you start learning the importance of youth work and how to actually do it and take trainings and stuff, you're like, wow, I really am a leader and displaying leadership. And really the goal is to influence other young leaders under me to do the same thing. So really you're just trying to influence other people to be good at leadership through your own leadership,
Got it, right? Set the example. So your parents, you got enthusiasm from them. They're kind of outgoing, social people. Are your parents leaders too? Or are you kind of a new generation in your family to take on that leadership kind of role?
I would definitely say I would consider both of my parents were leaders to some extent. Obviously, you have to be a leader to have a family and have kids and things like that. My dad is a leader because he runs his own business, so he's always had employees and things like that. So I guess I've always been able to pick up on some of those traits as well. And then just naturally always wanting to have fun and be outgoing. You kind of have to be a leader because if you don't do it, there's a chance nobody will. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this because I want to have fun and influence other people to do the same thing. So I think that's kind of where I got a little bit of my leadership skills from.
Yeah, and you seem to be able to insert fun into leadership. And, where do you think that there is room for fun in working with young people? Is it all fun or is it all serious or is it just a blend of the two?
It's a blend of the two. I mean, in reality, you would love it to always be fun, but I think sometimes it's all about finding a balance and knowing when it's time to be fun and outgoing and goofy, and then when it's time to okay, this is actually something serious. We need to focus on this. And I've always actually been kind of known for that. With youth work, I've done a lot of helping kids record music and perform music, and everybody always kind of used to know, okay, here goes the serious JT when we're like getting ready to perform for crowds or whatever. Like, it's always fun and enthusiastic, but then once you really got to hone in and prepare to ultimately, reach our goals, I can definitely get serious. But it's always about the kids kind of picking up on that, and they want to be held accountable just as much as anybody else. So if you're always just super easy on them or just kind of let them run the show, I think that tends to break the connection when they're looking for someone to look to and kind of guide them. So, and they'll push back like always, and that's natural, but that's how you get, the best results, I think.
I think you're right. And you bring so much energy and fun into everything. I bet you kids just gravitate towards you. Do you find that to be true? Do they just love to be around your energy and your fun and your ability to kind of meet them on their level? It seems like you got to be so intuitively good at just connecting with young people.
Yeah, but I think just as much as kids love to be around me, I think it's vice versa. I love to be around them. I feel really comfortable, and they probably pick up on it. Like, it's cool. Youth usually, that's when you're your most genuine and you're most, like, honest. So if something bothers you, or if you don't like somebody, you're not going to pay them any attention. As adults, we pick up on social cues and, like, okay, I may not like this person or enjoy them, but I'm still going to be an adult about it and be nice and cordial. But youth kind of have that raw energy to where it's like, I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve. And I've always been that type of way. Luckily, I've never like really disliked anybody. So I've never give off that vibe. I have I guess a trait. I can appreciate everybody and the good qualities in everybody, which is, also good in youth work. But I think, that's how I connect with kids. And I've always been, like, even with family, like the little kids and cousins and stuff like that, they're always like, oh, they're like, there goes JT at the family reunion just playing games with the kids and stuff. And it just kind of happens naturally. I don't think about it. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I enjoy it just as much as they enjoy being around me.
That's an absolutely wonderful trait. And I've asked a lot of people about having young people gravitate towards them. You're the first one that turned that around almost immediately and said, hey, but I like being around young people. What a wonderful attribute and skill and just natural kind of, curiosity you have about young people. That is so cool. What do you get out of being with young people? Why do you like it so much?
I touched on it a little bit before. It's usually, it's genuine. It's not fake what you get from them. You also learn a lot. I'm always asking the youth, like, hey, like, I'm always conscious of trying to apologize when I could have done something better, or like, hey, I kind of made a mistake here, my bad, because I want them to see that I'm open to being vulnerable and admitting to mistakes, and that way they can kind of see that it's okay to do that, and it's okay to kind of learn from one another, taking feedback. And it's just like, it's fun. I get, like, doing normal adult talking, I get bored a lot of the times. I'm always somebody who's like, okay, if we're just all going to sit here and talk, like, let's, nowadays you have like heads up on your phone and things like that. You could just immediately start engaging and doing icebreaker activities. So I've always naturally kind of been like that, because I don't like to typically sit still unless I'm really concentrating on something. But if you're in a social setting, it's like, let's do something, let's move around. And obviously kids have that exact same energy. So it's a match made in heaven, I guess.
It is. It sounds like you were built to do this kind of stuff. Did you always know you wanted to work with young people, or did you fall into this by accident? What is your story into youth work?
Definitely, I would say completely by accident. My first love, or I would say, so I got like three main passions. One is always been sports. As a kid, I love sports. Two was music. And then as I got older and understood youth work, I think my third passion would be youth work. But I was super into music. I went to school for audio production and engineering at IPR in downtown Minneapolis. My goal was always to not be in the forefront like a artist or a singer, but I am like creative and artistic to where I love creating art, and I love creating art with people, but more being in the background. So like the songwriter, the engineer, the producer, making the beats and stuff. So that is really what got me into making music. And as I was just graduating college, doing studio sessions, working with different artists, one of the artists I was working with happened to be looking for someone for a youth working job at the YMCA. He's like, hey, I don't know how to work any of this equipment, but I'm working with some kids on stuff and we need somebody. So it was kind of completely by accident, but it turned out, so I was like, yeah, I kind of need a job. I was young, like early, maybe 20 exactly, but like needed a consistent income, because obviously it's difficult when you're just recording local artists and trying to get a consistent income and stuff like that. So I took the job just knowing like, hey, it has something to do with music, so I'm gonna do that. And I ended up being pretty good at working with youth, and was able to combine that trait with my trait of being really good with music, and then combine them together to have, you know, what I think has been a pretty successful, exciting career in youth work.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to view some of the videos and some of the music you've made with young people, and we're going to talk about that a little bit after the break. But man, you do beautiful work, and I got to believe that's so powerful for the young people. When you first started your job working with young people, did you know right away this was going to be a good fit, or did you have that kind of period where, man, I don't know if this is right for me? Sometimes young people can be a little difficult. Did you know right away it was perfect, or did you have to kind of evolve into that role?
A little bit of evolving, I think, kind of knowing like, whoa, I am good at this on a kind of a larger scale. But even the first month, me and my partner and best friend who I started with, Ralph, we got like staff of the month our first month working at the YMCA running programming.
Cool.
So it was like, oh, we are, you know, being recognized for the music program we were doing, which I guess was pretty innovative, like making actual like songs with youth and releasing them and giving them a chance to like participate in project-based learning where you start them from a beginning to an end. Like that kind of thing, I guess, was people recognized that was kind of special and innovative and we were good at it. So even just that being like, oh, we got staff of the month, we must be kind of good at this. So that develops to get your confidence even develop more confidence. And then it's funny because I feel like that's exactly my job with young people, is develop their confidence and be like, hey man, you're really good at this. I think you should pursue this. This is how you can get better. So it's kind of like, it's always a correlation. Like I'm being mentored constantly by other adults who like youth workers and things like that. But then when I look at it, it's like, really, if I just flip this, I'm this person for the kids. So it's kind of like, funny how that works sometimes when I think about it.
Yeah, I hear you. And you clearly have some unique talents to bring to the field of youth work. But I want to ask you, besides like your technology skills, your, understanding of stuff in the studio, what one personality trait or quality about you, JT, can you bring to youth work that maybe is just you, uniquely you?
Well, you did say, you said enthusiasm, which I think is good. I don't know if I can pick one trait that is like I have that nobody else has, because everybody has a lot of different traits. But I do always tell people, and I'll probably speak on this later on in the podcast, that relationships are so important, and my ability to build to really do good youth work, you have to be able to build trusting relationships so youth are comfortable and able to trust you and let you guide them. And the only way to build relationships is to be able to relate. So I think just the fact that I'm really interested in music, I love music, I'm youthful and energetic, like kids can relate to that. So I like DJ as well, so I'll DJ a lot of the youth dances and things like that. So I'll give feedback. Hey, if I was going to DJ your dance, what would you want me to play? What kind of music? So I'm always kind of taking advantage of different interests that I like and the youth like, to be able to like sustain and build relationships. So I think that's like my best trait.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you, what I pick up on is you're just inquisitive about people in general, right? And young people, man, you just like to pick their brain and know where they're coming from and what is inside them, what makes them tick. Would you say that's accurate?
No, yeah, super accurate. I'm actually glad you said that because I didn't think about it. But that's one thing I used to always kind of admire about and notice about my dad. Like, he's really like that too. Like, we'll be in Florida for a vacation. We'll meet somebody that we've never met, and he's just like grilling them with questions, not in like a bad way, but just curious about it, wondering. And I think I have that too. I can get interested in pretty much anything, and even in school, I remember having different groups of friends because I was interested. I love sports, so I can hang out with the cool jocks and stuff like that. But I'm also like I like playing chess. I like superheroes. So if someone's really interested in comics, I'm going to ask them about it and how they feel. So it's kind of just being naturally, like you said, inquisitive helps you start kind of building relationships and learning about people. So.
Yeah, your curiosity is beyond comparison. You're just so into things. You're so inquisitive about understanding how things work and what makes people work. And I've learned that so quickly about you. And I got to believe that that's just so powerful in your work with young people. I can't believe it, but we're already ready for a quick break. So we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, I really want to learn some of the things you've learned about youth work. And also I want to talk to you about some of the videos you've produced, and in particular, Hot Cheetos and Takis. So we'll be right back after this break.
Cool.
And we're back. JT, right before the break, I was asking you about some of the things you've learned on the way. Is there anything that young people have taught you about yourself that you think has been kind of a side benefit of being a youth worker? Personal growth?
I really think one youth, I actually asked this question a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to figure out like what makes people have asked me to like start training other youth workers, and they're like, well, yeah, just thinking like, well, you're good at youth work, so you could just tell people how to be good at youth work. And I was like, I have no idea. I just kind of show up and cool stuff happens. But so I've like after a week of just struggling and being like stuck, like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to type this up in format, and like make a science of it. I just started asking kids, and one of the kids was like, you're actually really patient. And I was like, you're right, because it does take a lot of patience to, deal with kind of anybody really, but youth especially, they're going through so much different things. A lot of youth I work with have multiple challenges, whether it be growing up in tough neighborhoods or not having stable families, or just the fact that they're teenagers growing with raging hormones. So you never know what mood you're going to get out of them. So you really do have to be, patience is really important. And then just being forgiving as well. Like if a youth like, messes up or does something that it's like, dang, I wish he wouldn't have did that, or I wish she wouldn't have did that. To be able to just forgive them and understand, like, you never take stuff personal. I never ever think somebody is doing this to like, or doing anything to come at me, because I know they're not. I know everybody has different things they're dealing with. So just being patient is something that I think youth have helped me realize, because my ability to stick in there all the time. Because there has been times where it's like, man, I'm so burnt out right now, I just want to give up, and and I'll have that from time to time. I think that's natural with anybody, no matter if they're doing what they love. Sometimes you have those moments, and you just gotta kind of reel yourself back and remember why you're here, what you do it for, why you love it, and go from there.
I think that's a real honest answer. We all get to that point. This is hard work. I think there's maybe society in general believes that we just kind of hang around and play with kids. But our kids that we work with, our young people, sometimes have such complex stories and are difficult and sometimes just hard to understand personalities. But if we get to know them, we can find out what makes them tick, and we can really help them. But that's hard sometimes, and it can cause burnout. What do you do, JT, when you're at that point? Do you have somebody? Do you go talk to Ralph? Do you talk to a supervisor? Do you just take some time away and kind of regroup and refocus? Or what do you do to get that kind of mojo back when you're feeling like those days it's hard to find it?
Well, definitely, like, you're right. Like, I'll have people I kind of vent to. I really can vent to anybody because it's hard for me sometimes. People are like, how you doing? And, usually it's like, oh, I'm good. And sometimes it's like, I'm actually not good. I'm okay. And then I'm not afraid to say why I'm okay and what's bothering me. So you can use kind of anybody to kind of vent, and even just by talking, you're learning about yourself. So, but I think really learning as I got older to not focus on the things that you can't control. So, and don't dwell on it. So I really, when I'm not working, I really try and not think about work. It's easier said than done, and sometimes that's why I'm good at it, because I might get a really cool idea at 11 o'clock at night or whatever and be like, oh, this would be dope if I do this with this song I'm working on with this kid or whatever. So obviously that trait helps, but sometimes that trait can be a detriment if you're constantly focusing on it. You never get a chance to decompress. So I would say that's one thing I really try to do is like on weekends or my days off, I really try and focus on what I'm doing. So whether it be playing sports or going golfing. I just went golfing recently over the weekend, which was really fun. It's early in March, so Minnesota, you never know if you're going to be able to. But doing that kind of stuff really helps me kind of refresh and then get back into it. So that's kind of really important. And being honest, if you need a break or time off or whatever, you can say that. And then I'm lucky enough to have always had really good support systems. I actually don't think I've ever, especially in youth work, never had a boss or a supervisor that I didn't really connect with well and who I didn't trust. There's always been really good trust, and I've always really felt supported. And I think that's why I'm so adamant about doing that for the young people, So that's very important to have as well.
So in your work at the Best Buy Teen Center, you help young people produce and mix and create videos and music and things like that. And it seems like it works really well. And I want to talk about Hot Cheetos and Takis in just a second, but what do kids get out of being involved with your program? What do they learn? What benefit do they get from that? Well,
I think it's obviously skill sets. That's kind of on the surface. If you're a youth, you come in, oh, you got a music studio. Let me, I want to go in and I want to rap and I want to do this. So obviously they're learning skill sets and doing the stuff that intrigue them. But once you walk in the door, there's so much other things that they can open up to. So if you're a youth and you want to make a song in a studio, but then you have to create an album cover or album artwork to then release your song, it's well, I got to learn how to do that. And then that's another resource. We have a bunch of graphic designing and access to Photoshop and things like that. Cool. So a lot of times in media, one thing can lead to another. Usually when you're doing projects, you're using way more. If you make a song, you're not just using music production equipment, because you have to have use graphic design for the pictures, or you have to possibly learn how to do video production and things like that. So there's all sorts of different types of technology that you can learn when focusing on one thing. And I would also say that while completing projects are important, I think the process is even more important. And sometimes I don't even notice that. So it's oh, we're getting this song and this song's going to be really good. But what was learned during the time, developing the confidence, developing the skill sets to be able to do that. I've always used this example. So with kids, it's if you can stand up in front of a crowd and rap or explain to somebody this is my song, this is how I did this in the studio. We have tours a lot here at the tech center, and I make sure the kids are explaining their work and being able to talk. If you can do that, then it makes it that much easier to present to a class project, or when you have a job and you have to speak to people, public speaking, all that kind of stuff is those traits that you may not think you're gaining while you're learning certain skill sets is even more important than the skill sets you're actually working on.
Yeah, beautifully said. What a wonderful opportunity for young people to engage and express themselves in a multitude of ways, and not only just express themselves for their mental health being, and their ability to kind of dig inside themselves and self-reflect a little bit, but actually learning practical skills too that they could bring into the marketplace somewhere. Sure. What a great opportunity. Thanks for doing that work with young people. Yeah. You have shared some of the videos with me, and one that really caught my attention was Hot Cheetos and Takis, and it's just the coolest video. It has almost 18 million views on YouTube. Yeah. And I would like to just play a little bit for our listeners, and then when we come back after just a short take of that, let's find out a little bit more about that. So let's listen to a little bit of Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Sounds good.
Well, I can't begin to tell you, JT, how cool that was. When I first listened to it, I got that on Friday afternoon from you, and I walked around all week and kind of singing Hot Cheetos and Takis in my head. And you have so many young people involved in this production. There's a whole bunch of different young people doing some of the rap, and they get to be the star of the video at different times. How did this whole video come about? Where did Hot Cheetos and Takis come from?
So like I said, I first started doing youth work for the North Community YMCA in North Minneapolis. Excuse me, with my partner, one of my best friends, Raphael Jones. A lot of people call him King Ralio. That's his producer name. But we started making that program into what it is together. So Hot Cheetos and Takis happened in 2012. I think our first ever Beats and Rhymes class, that's what we used to call it, was Beats and Rhymes, the program where kids would come and learn the technical sides of music, performing, things like that. We started in, I think, 2009. So until Hot Cheetos and Takis, our main focus was always like, okay, we can put together like really high quality songs and music that kids can kind of present. Like it's music. We're kind of lucky because you have something tangible to show. There's a lot of different types of youth work that it's a little harder to show off like what you were doing. But luckily with music, it's like, hey, we spent all year meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 hours after school working on this album and recording and writing and mixing. And now we have a full CD that we can pass out to parents and families and like other people. And we're getting it played on the radio. So we were kind of we're both producers and engineers, so we were putting our resources together, people we knew, graphic designers, people at the radio station, really putting that all together to be able to showcase like youth voice, which is all you're really doing in general, is you're giving youth a platform to speak and express themselves. So moving into the summer of 2012, we had never done actually we did try one music video, but it didn't end up working out that well. But this was the first ever one we completed, and we knew all along. There was also a teacher at Nellie Stone Johnson where we used to work for after school program. They're like, you see all these kids eating all these snacks, you guys should make a song about it, and maybe we should try and shoot a video. And I was like, that's a really good idea. So we started noticing what they were eating, which was at the time the hot snacks, so Hot Cheetos and then Takis, which was at the time kind of more of a corner store thing. Now they're in all sorts of like normal like grocery stores and Target and Cub and all that stuff. And it's crazy looking back because I remember like being in Cub and being like, wow, they have Takis in the front row now. Just literally because when our song took off. So that was kind of crazy. The whole process was a really good learning experience as well. But so we decided we're gonna take our, some of our more successful, charismatic kids. We're really gonna try and shoot this video. So we asked the kids, "Are you guys interested in this? Do you like this? Here's the ideas we called." We also had a youth that helped us kind of make the beat as well. So not just the artists on the song, the rappers weren't involved. Like one of the kids was also involved, like helping us produce the song. So we did all that. We made the song first, then we were like, okay, where are we going to shoot? So we literally just went to like important places in the neighborhood that was important to the kids. And I think that's why it resonated with everybody. It just looks like kids having fun doing their own thing. It didn't seem like it was forced. It seemed really natural, which it was. And then 2 weeks, once we put it out, it went to 1 million views, and all these Billboard and Rolling Stone started talking about it, and it got really crazy. But it all started with us just trying to have fun with youth. So.
Well, thank you for giving those young people that opportunity. I can't imagine how confident and proud they were of that final product. They had to just be loving every minute of that.
Yeah, no, super. And it's cool because even before that, all those members of that song were members of previous programs we had run. So there was a process for them. Like even the first time they had a CD to sell or perform it at the end of the year talent show, they were able to kind of understand like, whoa, this is really exciting. But as you gain and keep growing, you're like, now you're actually prepared for like, whoa, my music, like I'm already kind of a hot commodity at my school because everybody knows I rap and stuff. But now like people nationally are starting to pick up on it. So they're able to kind of get used to that attention before. And that's also, as a young person, with that, you're getting so much attention that you may or may be used to. So I like to think that our programming 4 years in the making like helped prepare for them to handle that as well as they did. So
that's awesome. JT, it has just been such a wonderful experience getting to know you. You are one of the most unique people I've ever met. And I am just so grateful that you have decided to use your skills and your talents to give back to young people and help them. Maybe, who knows, you might someday produce the next big, star in the United States,
right.
Because you're giving them opportunities that they might never have had. So I am just really glad we got to meet, and I'm really glad you were a guest on the podcast. So thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate just the platform in general, not only for myself, but I've looked at a couple of the other podcasts, and it's so much like talented people and really influential, powerful people that are doing a lot of different important work for their communities that they're in. So and being able to give them a platform is really important to kind of spread the word of the importance of this type of work. So I appreciate what you guys do as well.
Cool. Thank you, JT. Before we go, I would like you to have the last word and ask you, what words of wisdom or inspiration would you like to leave with our listeners?
I think from the context of youth work, the one thing I always say, and the key to pretty much everything, is relationships. You can't really influence people to better themselves or get them in a situation where they will accept a new opportunity unless they trust you and think you have their best interests at heart. And in order to do that, you have to develop a relationship, and specifically a trusting relationship. So, and everything else after that is just icing on the cake, because you may think the most important thing is like whatever you do with the youth or the song or the thing that gets all this attention, but really it's the process within that and being able to create a genuine human connection. And that's not only for, I would say, youth work, but in everything. Like, I feel like life is about creating general human connection and, loving and caring for people and all that stuff. Not to get too like philosophical or whatever, but I think that stuff is really important, and it starts with making relationships.